SNOWTRAX is sponsored by Polaris, Think Outside, Yamaha, revs your heart, FXR Racing, celebrating 25 years of speed, and by iPone Lubricants, exclusively distributed by Parts Canada.
When I got the call to visit Hamilton County and the Adirondacks, I'm normally the magazine guy, so this was my first television trip. It was quite an honor to go to the States to do this trip. Driving up from Southern Ontario, it was about a 5.5 hour ride, and it was a nice drive, nice and easy to get there. So the opportunity came up to actually bring a guest along, and I thought, who better to bring than my daughter, Madeline.
Growing up, my dad was always going on these excellent snowmobiling trips, and I would hear all about how nice the trails were and how nice the hotels were and the areas. Finally, I was at an age where I was able to go with him and experience all excellent scenery that he's always been talking about.
So we arrived in the evening in a little town called Inlet. So when we arrived in the evening at the Woods Inn, we pulled up to this place, and right away you could tell that place had been around for a while. It was very unique, right on a lake, really beautiful spot. This place was older. It was built in 1894, so it's been around for a long time. Super clean, but you got the feeling that you were in something that was really special and it had some history to it. It was just nice to be there, and we were looking forward to getting ready the next day to go on the trails. So we wake up in the morning, first day, the phone rings. It's our guide, Darren. Unfortunately came across mechanical problems with his sled and wasn't going to be able to help us that day. First thing we had to do though, we had to go to the visitor center. Sure enough, they showed us this awesome snowmobile app called the Adirondack USA snowmobile app. So after we got settled and she showed us the trails to take and showed us how to use the app a little bit, we took off over to Clark's Marina and met up with Junior, the boss there. And what a great guy. He set us up with a couple of sleds. We were good to go from there. I highly recommend seeing Junior at Clark's if you're in Inlet to rent sleds. It's nice and easy, and he'll tell you the great spots to go, and it worked out well. Just could not believe the quality of the trails. They were nice and wide. It was just beautiful. It was like the groomer had just been out, and we were able just to rip along at a nice pace.
It was really nice. The trails were pretty similar to here, but they were a lot wider, which made me feel a lot safer. They were also really well groomed, and yeah, you could see they really cared about keeping up the image of their trails.
Really a nice safe spot to snowmobile and really see the beautiful scenery in Hamilton County and the Adirondacks.
Came up to a bend. Well, there was a few signs for lookout. There was one called Pete's Peak, and we looked on the map. Just had to make a turn, and I was really interested to see what was up there.
So we pull up to the top of this peak. Immediately we look out over the vista, and it's just incredible. It's actually breathtaking. Madeline and I get off the snowmobile and we just walk over there, and we kind of stand looking out in awe. It's just beautiful. Really cherish this moment together. It was just kind of a moment that not a lot of people will have. Snowmobilers, if you take your family out to Adirondacks, you'll find a million places like this one, and it's so worthwhile to do this. It's what snowmobiling is all about, enjoying these moments with your family. So at the top of this peak, it was quite cold. It was freezing. So we got back on our sleds, found our way down, wanted to hit those awesome trails again, and got to rip the throttle open a little bit.
Grew up with my dad. That was a good experience to let me look at the scenery a little bit more, which was nice because it's beautiful up there.
And we were really anxious to get some food in our stomachs and warm up a little bit.
SNOWTRAX is brought to you by the regions of Quebec by the sea. Discover our ride ideas.
So we noticed on the way to lunch that there was these little off trails, like they look smaller, a little bit windier. You're curious to try those out. So during lunch we talked about it. Sure enough, we got back on our sleds and found a couple of these. They were a lot of fun. Totally different from the first trails that we were on in the morning. We hit those and they were really nice and windy, nicely groomed.
We also went down this one windier trail. It was a bit newer, so it was a little bit tighter, but it was still really beautiful. And then we saw this one rest stop area.
There was like another little lookout down by a babbling brook, and we parked our sleds there, and it was just another moment to get off and enjoy the beautiful scenery of the Adirondacks. There's so many beautiful spots to check out, and this was definitely one of them again. It was getting a little late, and we knew we had to put some serious miles behind us, so we got back on our sleds, had to head up to Speculator, which was quite a rip. So we got on and we just rode and rode. It's just gorgeous there, lots of peaks and valleys. Trails were amazing all the way up to Speculator region at Lake Pleasant. During the ride up to Lake Pleasant, though, it was really neat to have Madeline on the back with me. You know, every once in a while she'd give me a nudge or a thumbs up. You know, it was just really special to have her along the way with me.
So finally, when we got to the Lake Pleasant Lodge, I was really happy to have a nice warm place to stay, and everyone was really welcoming there.
After a great sleep at Lake Pleasant Lodge, we were ready to rip the next day. It was a beautiful morning, and we were going to meet up with the Wilt family. We had Daniel, Christy, and Willie Wilt. Greatest people, super nice, knew the area. They were very familiar with all the trails, and they were excited to show us around too. So we got our stuff on, came out the door, got on our sleds, and they were waiting for us, and the trail was right there, and we knew it was going to be a great day.
In the Adirondacks here, there's like 750 miles of groomed snowmobile trails. There's quite a bit. There's a number of people that volunteer to go out and groom, do the best we can. We get out as often as we can and groom just about every day if we can. Try to keep the trails up nice for the people that come visit.
So when we hit the trails, the Wilt family wanted to take us on some of the best known spots. We went through the Speculator Tree Farm. We saw some beautiful vistas. We're really up there in the mountains. It was just a great opportunity to try some more of these awesome trails. They were nice and wide. We had a mixture of really wide groomed trails with lots of turns, peaks, valleys, just a nice, pleasant ride.
Snowmobiling with our tour guides was a really cool experience because they knew the trails pretty well, and they knew all these really pretty spots that we could go and just admire the trails. And I had never snowmobiled outside Ontario before, so it was really cool to have tour guides who showed us the way.
So Dan Wilt, he led the way and took us through the Speculator Tree Farm, and we ended up at a ski resort. This is a place where snowmobilers and skiers unite. It's kind of unique. And we were welcomed in there. They had a table set up for us and just had a great lunch. The owners there were just fantastic, really looked after us. It was a really nice spot to warm up. We were really impressed with that.
But it was definitely a nice place to warm up. Everyone was super welcoming.
Stopped at Oak Mountain, ate at the Acorn Grill. In fact, the owners of Oak Mountain, the O'Brien family, treated us to lunch and dessert. They did a real nice job.
Dan and Willie were talking about a great spot that had some really different kinds of trails that they wanted to take us. So it was time to get back on the sleds and venture out again. So we crossed a lake area where we got to hold the throttle open a bit, and we came across trails that they wanted to show us. And you could only access this area by snow machine or by boat in the summer. And we thought that was pretty cool. The trails themselves were very tight, but the scenery was incredible. It was the lake there was untouched. It was very serene, and it was just a really special spot to be.
One of the unique things about Fawn Lake is it's only accessed by snowmobiles or by foot. And it's a popular spot right on the lake. It's pretty, especially when the sun's out. No camps on it, so it's surrounded by state land. Premier spot to go fishing for trout, and no pollution, no invasive species, nothing, pure lake.
The first day we went, the trails were pretty wide. They were still nicely groomed, but then the second day we went on trails that were a little bit narrower. It was more mountainous, it was pretty windy, so it made for a really fun ride.
Yeah, so another thing about this spot, Hamilton County in general, in the Adirondacks, is that there are so many unique trails. You're not just on 4-lane highway type trails. You can find these tight trails that are out of the way. You can find twisties. It's a really unique area to ride. Wherever you go, the trails are in great condition, which was really amazing because there was a lot of traffic out there for midweek. And I think that's a really special and unique thing about this riding area.
To thank SNOWTRAX for coming to Speculator and checking out our trails. We hope they had a great time. We did our best to get things cleaned up for them and have a nice ride.
You know, as time was coming to an end, Madeline and I both said that this is something that we're gonna hold close to our hearts forever. She's looking forward to going on a few more adventures. I hope that one day I can take my other daughter along too. It's something that I'll never forget. I want to thank the Adirondacks for hosting us and making this experience extra special for Madeline and I.
Trail Tech is sponsored by Princess Auto. Make it work.
Well, it's that time of the season where we start using our sled decks for the purpose that they were built for, snowmobiles. And this season, I've got a kind of unique setup that I really think you're going to appreciate. And that is the newly revised and updated 2021 Marlon 7-foot sled deck with deck extension and the longer ramp. Why do we need a deck extension, you ask? Well, this is a short box 6-foot 6-inch truck, and while you almost always see sled decks in long box trucks, you don't need a long box or a 25 or 3500 truck to still take 2 sleds along with you. With that being said, we do absolutely recommend that you install either airbags or extra leaf springs for the added weight of the 2 sleds on the back of your 1500 truck. We also recommend that you adhere to your specific weight ratings. We've installed airbags on our 1500, which gives it incredible leveling abilities with nothing more than a little bit of air pressure. And the reason we chose to equip our 1500 short box with a Marlon this year is because here in the flatlands, these are the trucks of choice and the most popular size and spec on the roads, and have no issue handling the Marlon decks as long as you spec it out properly. And that's where the deck extension comes into play. I wouldn't recommend you put an 8-foot deck in the back of your 6-foot box. It sticks out too far and it's pretty hard to get to your tailgate. But when it comes to a 7-footer, it fits just great. Now the 7-foot deck doesn't need the extension if you're running shorter track sleds. However, if you do have longer lengths to support, then the extension adding 24 inches of extra deck is really a slick setup that gives you the best of a long deck with the style and functionality of a 7-footer. The deck extension can be put on or off in a matter of minutes and clips in with relative ease. It also features the same LED backup light, running light, signal, and brake light as the main deck ramp bar with a quick connect electrical plug, so you're still safe and lit up. The extension articulates up and out of the way when not in use and only takes seconds to convert and flip into place. Now, while I'm talking about the extension flipping down and into place, you might have noticed one of the new features for 2021, and that is the revised headache rack. Typically, most sled deck racks block out your third brake light, and up till now the Marlon did as well. But for 2021, the headache rack has been revised to allow visuals of the third brake light, as well as bed cameras on your GMC and Chevy 2500 and 3500 pickup trucks, and keeps you safer out on the road. It still has the built-in loading lights and all the same tie-down features with a revised shape for safety. Now, while I'm speaking about safety, there's a lot of folks who don't know if they could actually load a sled onto a sled deck, but those longer ramps that I spoke of earlier significantly help out. The extended ramp adds 24 inches of length over the typical 8.5-foot ramp we're used to using and reduces the angle for loading. It's made of the same strong aluminum and it still fits under the deck in the storage tray. It's a simple way to add safety and peace of mind. Now, another great reason to use a 1500 truck relates to the ramp angle as well. Most 2500 and 3500 trucks are significantly higher off the ground, and because we're using this 1500 with airbags, we can lower the bag pressure when loading to accommodate a better approach angle, linked with the ramp extensions. Then pump up the bags to level the ride once loaded. It's easy to do and brings a high level of confidence to loading and unloading your sleds. This latest version of the Marlon Explore Pro II sled deck is really changing the way that we use our 1500 series trucks. And thanks to the deck extension, we're able to get those same Marlon hauling capabilities with trucks that suit us here in the flatlands. I'm pretty excited to be here with you today and being able to say that for the first time in, I don't even know how long, the Yamaha Mountain Max now has a two-stroke back under its hood. Yeah, don't hit rewind, you heard me right. This is a Yamaha Mountain Max 154 with an 800cc two-stroke. Also available in a 165-inch option, the Mountain Max is back, and it's light, and it's wonderful, and it's the way a Mountain Max should be. And while you might wonder just how much cool technology has made its way into this sled, let me tell you, it's not some second-rate skid frame or engine. It's the latest and greatest, and I, for one, am very excited about these new sleds. I'll be testing the 154 Mountain Max today, and truthfully, there's only two options for Mountain Maxes in 2021. There's no engine choices, there's no lug depth choices. You get all the goods on two different models. This 154 is a 2.6-inch lug, and when you go for 165, you get the 3-inch of goodness. So there's no shortage of snow-moving, shoveling action with either sled. But it's what's wrapped inside the track that truly changes the game for Yamaha mountain riders. Yes, this is a single-beam rear suspension. And yes, it's very cool, and yeah, it's crazy good in the snow. The fact that the track can flex to an insane degree makes this one of the easiest, well, scratch that, this is the easiest sled to get on edge and stay there. It's truly so user-friendly, it makes you a better mountain rider and requires far less effort. Along with being insanely functional, it also soaks up the bumps out back pretty darn well thanks to some high-quality dampers. The center Fox QS3 and rear QS3L shocks are here to take a beating and are super easy to adjust, no matter how much snow gets packed in the rear skid or how frozen things look. And because it's QS3, it's simple. 3 stages of compression adjustability, soft, medium, and firm. And while the adjustment is simple, the quality is not. These Fox shocks are some of my favorite in the industry, not simply for the ease of use, but for the incredible compliance and dramatic change in damping in a simple-to-use, glove-friendly clicker. Okay, so the rear skid is great. Likewise, the track is also. But the real big news for Yamaha buyers here is obviously an 800cc two-stroke. This 794cc semi-direct injection two-stroke might be the smallest in the big iron two-stroke mountain game, but don't let that fool you. By no means is it at a disadvantage. The power produced is angry, strong, and very snappy. In fact, all of our staff felt that this motor is one of the most snappy and quick revving of all the big bore two-strokes available. And the mid-range of this engine is strong and robust. Is it the cleanest? No. Is it the most efficient? Same answer. But at the end of the day, it's a very respectable contender and doesn't leave me wanting. The stance on this sled is the standard 36-inch mountain width, and the front dampers, they're equally as good as the ones out back. 1.5-inch body QS3s come standard up front and deliver excellent compliance on the trail up the hill, but when you pull off into the powder and want to play, you're only a click or two away from heavier compression that's ready for whatever you throw at it. The mountain-specific skis are great at carving through the powder, and when you pull the Max onto its side and want to hook a bit of powder, there's no hesitation here. One thing I really appreciate about the shorter lug, shorter track 154 is the playful nature that it exhibits. While big tracks and deep lugs have their place, I feel shorter length mountain sleds do also, and the playful side of things is a great spot for this 154 Mountain Max. Getting the skis up is effortless thanks to the snappy response of the Team Industries clutches and the 800cc power, and when I want to leave the ground behind and launch the Max, the shorter length single beam skid frame is so easy to shred a wind lip or a powder pillow, and feels at home doing this kind of riding. Would a 3-inch benefit? Yeah, sure at times, but the 2.6 Camso Power Claw is adequate for the 54. There are a lot of other features and benefits to the Mountain Max, from the included 20-inch tunnel bag to store your extra gear, to the upper gauge area for goggles. You've got lots of extra space for your stuff, as well as a lightweight disc brake to help keep things lighter. As for weight, we don't have the numbers yet, but I can say from my experience riding this sled, it feels really light. It's great to see Yamaha back in the mountain market, and more importantly, back in the two-stroke game, a place that they need to be. And when you're in the mountains, two-strokes, well, they're the only way to roll.
SNOWTRAX has been sponsored by MBRP Performance Exhaust, built for the victory lap, and by Arctic Cat Snowmobiles.
If you like what you've just seen, click the subscribe button and comment below. And make sure you check out all of our great videos on SNOWTRAX TV's YouTube channel.